Yesterday, dozens of masked settlers swept across the Beit Lead der Sharaf area of the east of Tulkarm. Trucks and dairy warehouses were burned, Bedouin tents went up in flames, 4 Palestinians were injured. In a rare interview, soldiers detained several settlers only for other settlers to vandalize an IDF vehicle nearby. 4 arrests followed. Israel's President Isaac Herzog called the event shocking and serious, and senior commanders warned such attacks undermine security. The UN's Humanitarian Office reports October 2025 recorded at least 264 settler incidents that caused injuries and damage, the highest monthly total since monitoring began in 2006, roughly 8 a day. By early November 2025, the tally was 1,500 incidents. The surge coincides with the olive harvest and the war's second year. Across 2 decades of cases tracked by Yesh Din, roughly 94% of investigations into ideologically motivated offences by Israelis against Palestinians in the West Bank ended without indictment. Impunity is not anecdote, it is data set. Olives are livelihood and lineage for West Bank families, and harvest time reliably draws attacks. OCHA's latest weekly West Bank brief states that this season's settler violence has reached the highest level recorded in recent years, with around 150 harvest-related attacks already logged, injuring over 140 people, destroying thousands of trees across dozens of villages. The weekend before Tuesday's arson, masked men beat farmers and journalists near Beita. An Israeli volunteer in his 70s left with blood on his face. The harvest is being priced out by fear. Since 1967, Israel has established a vast settlement enterprise in occupied territory. In 2025, the state published tenders for a record 5,667 new housing units in the West Bank, enough for roughly 25,000 additional residents if built. The finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has repeatedly articulated an agenda to prevent a Palestinian state and extend Israeli control in the territory. Bureaucracy as annexation is not a slogan, it is a policy trick. And it's settler vigilantism doesn't strengthen Israeli security. The IDF's own Central Command chief says it distracts troops from core missions. On Tuesday, settlers even attacked soldiers. When citizens assault the forces sworn to protect them, the state's monopoly on force is not only challenged, it is embarrassed. The baseline is straightforward. Transferring your civilian population into occupied territory and building civilian settlements is unlawful under the 4th Geneva Convention. UN briefings now link the spike in settler violence, the lack of prosecution, and the accelerated expansion of settlements into a single matrix that strips Palestinians of safety, movement, and access to land. The numbers are not neutral. They describe an architecture of dispossession. And first, because violence clusters around the harvest, the moment when a year's income is literally picked from the trees. Second, this matters now because record-level tenders harden a territorial reality that any future diplomacy must confront. Third, because when the state arrests 4 suspects and releases most of them without charge within hours, it signals to local hardliners that the risk is low and the reward is high. What responsible actors should now do, therefore, there are 3 things. Inside Israel, they should resource the West Bank Police District and the Shin Bet to prosecute settler crime with the same urgency applied to Palestinian offences, to protect the harvest convoys and enforce closed military zones impartially, to publicly measure targets for indictments and convictions. That would help restore deterrence. The Palestinian Authority must document rigorously and share case files with international mechanisms, prioritise legal support for farmers during harvest windows, and international partners must condition aspects of cooperation on verifiable steps to prevent and punish attacks, including reporting requirements on arrests, indictments and outcomes. They should expand monitoring and protective presence during the harvest season and fund rapid replanting and orchard rehabilitation. UN agencies already track the trend. They need leverage as well as data. Tuesday's fires were not just vandalism, they were an assault on a rural economy, a cultural inheritance, and the basic idea of law. When the President and Generals say enough, they are not making a moral luxury statement, but a national interest argument. Unchecked settler violence corrodes the rule of law, weakens security, and accelerates a territorial logic that forecloses any shared future. If the harvest cannot be safe, nothing is safe. The test is simple. Indict, prosecute and protect, or watch the orchards and the prospects for peace turn to ash.